Well, thanks, Peter. Welcome back. More reaction to the budget speech yesterday by Finance Minister Tito Mboweni keeps on trickling in. Some have lauded him for not increasing value-added tax, and they say it's positive for small business. And they say that if VAT could have been increased, it would have significantly impacted on cash flow and input costs, leaving businesses with no choice but to pass on the cost to consumers. Let's speak to Buyi Maseko. He's head of growth at FNB Home Finance. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
All right. From your perspective, you think that this budget has been, described as pro-poor, and others are saying it's pro-growth. What do you think?
So I think government has made a lot of efforts in terms of making inroads to help boost the economy. And I think having a look at how consumers are struggling in terms of affordability and that effort that they're making in terms of boosting the economy is very important. So I think it is a very pro-growth budget that we've seen, but naturally there are some challenges considering our electricity challenges that we are still facing. So it's a bit of a long road ahead, but I think a lot of positives have been picked up from this year's budget speech.
All right. Others are excited about the tax release for some of the employees in various tax brackets. Yes. Do you think that this is going to help stimulate the economy in terms of disposable cash for them to be able to service their debts or be able to spend more?
So I think it will help in terms of debt servicing, and will help those customers or those residents within South Africa that are feeling the pinch. Because you also take into consideration the fact that salaries are not increasing at the rates at which debt is increasing. So it is very important to almost try and find the balance, and I think that's what government is trying to strike here, a bit of a balance in terms of let's help those consumers that are struggling, let's help them service that debt, and also help them with a little more affordability and disposable income for their households and homes.
So looking at how the property sector is going to benefit from this budget, do you think as time goes on this will encourage people to be able to buy houses with reference to those who have been in the rent to buy market?
From a banking and finance sector, this is very positive for us. I think this change, or this adjustment rather, in the threshold from properties worth R1 million and lower not to be charged transfer duties is a step in the right direction, because it means more customers will be able to afford properties. You take into consideration rather that these transfer duties make up a significant amount in terms of what customers need to pay. So you find that a customer can afford to purchase a property, but it's those additional costs such as registration fees, the transfer duties, that is what becomes a challenge. So this will open up more opportunities for more individuals to enter the property market and increase affordability in that space.
Government has so much debt that at the moment, when it's servicing debt, can it be able to do it sustainably, so more so that the revenue shortfall has been a matter of concern since the past 3 years, where SARS has not been meeting its targets?
So look, that is a significant challenge, and with the way we're moving, I think we're seeing that it's not really sustainable. There has to be some change that is made in terms of how we manage our debts, and we can't just be servicing debts only. There's a lot of factors that need to be taken into consideration. There's lots of infrastructure requirements that we have for this country. Education is important, healthcare is important. So it's always important. It's a matter rather of finding that balance and thinking of a long-term plan that is more sustainable, because you can't have a large percentage of your revenue servicing debt.
Okay, so what is the property gauge holistically, looking at the middle-income earners and also those who are at the lower end and are not able to afford, the type of housing that falls within their earnings? Yes.
So from a financing perspective, we do see that a lot in terms of customers not being able to afford property. We've made a lot of inroads in terms of partnering with various developers to try and see if there's opportunities to look at making property more affordable. Government has also tried in terms of the different subsidies that they're offering, the land release program that they're also looking to introduce. So those kind of initiatives will help in terms of improving affordability within the middle to lower income space.
So what would your advice be to someone who is going to get a tax relief and also getting an opportunity to be able to buy a house, given what the minister announced in terms of an incentive for new home buyers?
I think the most important thing is to understand what it means to own a property. Understand what you can afford, firstly. I think there's a lot of costs that are associated with purchasing a house that initially you might not be aware of. So it's important to do your research, understand the property markets, buy within your affordability range. And it's good now when you look at the fact that there's no transfer duties for properties worth R1 million and less, rather. So that opens up the affordability aspect a little bit more. But also look at your expenses. As banks, we offer assessments, pre-approvals, so you know upfront what you actually qualify for, and then you can start planning in terms of what are my monthly expenses, where can I afford to reduce. And it's always good to save for a deposit where you can, so you can use that tax release more specifically for that, and all that money that you're going to use for your transfer duties, we would suggest that you put it over into a deposit, because that will help reduce your monthly repayments as well.
Okay, just before you go, clarify for us conveyancing fees and then transfer duties.
So the conveyancing fees is the fees that's charged by the attorney to help with that registration process of the property. So the transfer duty is a tax levy that is charged on the transfer of the property from during the sale of that property.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Okay. Well, Buyi Maseko is head of growth at FNB Home Finance.